What's up and welcome back to another video. I am so excited to be sharing this with you guys today. I'm going to be talking about the dreamrave in Human Design, which is your sleep chart, which is completely different than your waking chart in Human Design. So when you go to any website where you can pull up your chart, Jovian Archives, My Body Graph, Genetic Matrix, My Human Design, that is going to tell you, and you type in your information, right? That tells you your waking chart. That is your energy, your aura, how you're meant to make correct decisions, your internal guidance system when you're awake. And if, by the way, you're new to Human Design or you want to learn more about your specific authority and type combination, I have audio downloadable guides on my website to walk you through what it means and how to use your authority in alignment with your type to correctly operate in alignment with your true self, as well as audio downloadable guides for your specific profile. So, but that's not what I'm going to be talking about today. Today I'm going to be talking about the sleep chart, which is the chart you have when you're sleeping. And if you haven't seen my TikTok about this, I think I posted this to my YouTube channel as well. It's just like a short 60-second, 1 minute long video on the sleep chart in Human Design and just kind of giving a little bit more information about it and how it differs from your waking chart. I also have a blog post where I've laid out the details and the specifics and detail of the sleeping chart. So if you want to learn more about the differences between the demon realm and the light realm and the earth plane and go more into depth into your chart, my blog post is a great resource and I'll link that below. But today I'm going to be talking about the difference between your waking chart and your sleep chart, right? So the difference between your waking chart and your sleep chart is that when you're asleep, your chart is horizontal because you're horizontal. So the information that you're being fed through the neutrino system, right, is coming at you horizontally, quite literally. As well as in your sleeping chart, you only have 5 centers, different from the normal 9 centers in your waking chart. So in your sleeping chart, there's no I, there's no ego, there's no emotional center, there's no solar plexus, there's no emotions in your dreams. It's only when you wake up from the dream and remember it through your mind that you start to feel the emotions around it. But when you're dreaming, you don't have any emotions. You're just kind of witnessing and observing what's going on. There's no mind, there's no ajna, and there's no crown center either in your sleeping chart because you have no mind when you're asleep. You're literally just receiving information. And what's really cool too about the sleep chart in Human Design is it tells you how you receive your information through dreams and what types of dreams you normally have while you're asleep. And this can differ depending on the transits going on each day to day, right? But in general, when you're looking at your sleep chart and interpreting your sleep chart, it tells you what types of dreams you're most likely to have and what kind of general themes those dreams will have. Excuse me, as well as because your sleeping chart, right, when you're sleeping, it's not like what we've always thought of, like there's psychological interpretations to your dreams, and if you're having this type of dream, it means this, and like all that. Like that's totally false. What is happening when you're asleep and when you're dreaming is you're being programmed. You're being conditioned from the matrix or the world around us, right? You're taking in energy. And this is why too, it's really, really important for you to sleep alone. And this is what my whole TikTok video was about, is that we're supposed to sleep alone. We're supposed to sleep within our own aura. And if you're sleeping in someone else's aura, you're taking in energy from that person and probably having their dreams like for them and vice versa too. And it's not really, it doesn't really matter if you like remember your dreams or not. They're still impacting you throughout your day, right? Because again, when you're dreaming, when you're asleep, whether or not you remember your dreams, you're being conditioned. You're being programmed for that day. It's literally setting you up to kind of be ready for that day, preparing you for the day ahead and what the energy is going to require you to do, right? But it's also where you're really susceptible to being conditioned to your not self, to living incorrectly. And it's only when you wake up, right, that you have your waking chart again, that you can align with, excuse me, that you can align with your correct true self by using your unique strategy and authority based on your waking chart, right? But your sleeping chart gives you insight into the conditioning that's being fed to you while you're sleeping and how that's contributing to your not self. So in the sleep chart as well, there's this thing called the weak point, and this is if you have a gate in the sleeping chart that you don't have in your waking chart. Like if you have, it's kind of hard to explain, but so I'll give an example. In your sleeping chart, if you have gate 1, say, but you don't have that gate in your waking chart, and you have the gate on the other side of that channel, which is gate 8. You have gate 8 in your waking chart, and you have gate 1 in your sleeping chart. That's what's called a weak point, and that's going to be a point of sensitivity for you in like conditioning that not self theme. And each gate in the sleeping chart has a totally different expression and meaning than it does in your waking chart, and that's something I talk about in my blog post too. And I have like a whole class in my Astro HD classes membership going super into detail in the sleep chart and like interpreting all the gates and all the lines that go through it, because yes, similar to your waking chart, each gate in your sleeping chart has a line going through it as well, which gives it a unique expression and tells you more about the like themes of your dreams, versus the gates are more of like the archetypal energy of your dreams. And so if you have what's called this weak point, right, in your sleep chart, then that's going to be a really sensitive point of conditioning for you, and something that's really going to contribute to like limiting beliefs and your not self when you're awake. And again, it depends on like what gate and what channel you have that creates that point in your chart, as to how that's going to show up for you. But that's really what in knowing about your sleep chart and interpreting your sleep chart can give you insight into, is how you're being conditioned when you have no control over it, and how that contributes to your not self and your waking life. And it's also really important to, and this is something I talk about in the blog post, is it's really important to know and be following and have experimented with your strategy and authority for at least a year before really diving into what is held within your sleep chart, right? As well as following your determination, because your determination, your eating style is really going to set up your body, right, for the correct frequency and give your body the ideal conditions it needs to align with your correct and your true self. And if you're not following those things first, then it's kind of pointless to learn about your sleep chart, because again, you really need to be like living in alignment with your strategy and authority and your determination, the rest of your design. I'd even argue before you get into this deeper stuff, because it's not really going to be super helpful or make a whole lot of sense if you're not already living in alignment with like your correct frequency and your true self, and like have gone through a lot of deconditioning already. And so the differences, I talk about this in my blog post a little bit, but more in depth in the class I have in my membership site, of the differences between the demon realm, the light field, and the earth plane. And honestly, the light field and the earth plane are kind of worse than the demon realm. Like, yes, the demon realm dreams can be like scary and fearful and aggressive, as that's the gates that are in the demon realm, which, by the way, the sleeping chart only has 15 gates, and each plane, the demon realm, the earth field, and the demon realm, the light field, and the earth plane each have 5 gates within them that all have different meanings. But the demon realm gives you insight into how your body's being conditioned. And if you're not following your determination, if you're not following your unique eating style, you're gonna have a lot of vivid dreams. Like if you have activated gates within the demon realm, you're gonna have a lot of those dreams if you're not living correctly in your waking life, especially in accordance with your determination, right? If you're not setting your body up for success, because the demon realm represents your unconscious, it represents your body, it represents your design, right? The vehicle of your design, versus the light field is your conscious, your personality, the passenger of that vehicle. And then the earth plane is, well, it's not your quantum, it's the collective unconscious. But right, when you combine your design and your personality, that's what creates your quantum chart, which is the driver of your vehicle, right? So the demon realm gives you insight into how you're not living in alignment with your design, your vehicle, your body. And so it's really important. This is why I say it's really important to already have experimented with your correct strategy and authority and your determination, and be living in alignment with that Because if you're not, then you can kind of gauge, oh, I'm having a lot of these dreams that are like vivid, that are fearful, that are scary, and like looking at what gates you have in the demon realm can tell you what that's going to look like for you. Does that make sense? And so if you're living in alignment and correct alignment with your design and with your body, you're not going to have issues with those dreams from the demon realm, right? Because the demon realm is really all about the well-being of your body. It's like clearing things out of your field to help the health of your physical body and your unconscious, versus the light field is your personality. It's how your personality or your mind is being conditioned. And then the earth plane is the collective unconscious. It's the energy that you're receiving from the collective unconscious and from the people on earth that are still awake while you're asleep. And so the types of dreams that you can be having in the earth plane, like if you have activated gates in the earth plane, then that can give you a lot of insight into how you're being programmed from the collective unconscious, depending on what gates you have specifically and what types of dreams those will cause you to have too. But it will give you a lot of insight into like what the collective unconscious is feeling. And you know, if you're not aware of this, then you're going to be taking that on and living that out in your day-to-day life. So this is kind of where, you know, after you've really had a foundation of the other knowledge of your design and been living that way, where knowing about your sleep chart can come in handy for telling you where you're subject to conditioning and how that conditioning shows up in your life in certain ways. And then most people, I meant to talk about this at the beginning, but most people are reflectors when they're asleep. So about 70% of people are reflectors in your sleep chart, which means you're completely open, right? And completely taking in energy from the field around you, especially if you're sleeping with somebody. You're taking in their aura while you're sleeping. And then if you're a generator, which is about 16% of the population, I think it's like 15 to 16% of people are, these aren't exact percentages, like you can find the percentages somewhere, I think. Or I might even have listed them on my blog post, I can't remember. But so 70% of us are reflectors, about 15 to 16% of us are generators, and about 15 to 16% of us are projectors in the sleeping chart. And again, this totally differs from your waking chart. So you could be a emotional manifesting generator when you're awake, but when you're asleep you're a reflector, or when you're asleep you're a generator, or when you're asleep you're a projector. And that doesn't mean that when you're sleeping you need to be living in alignment with that like type and authority. It's like none of that. And I won't get into definition in the sleep chart in this video because it's really complicated and it's like a really interesting thing. Other than just to say that if you're a generator in your sleeping chart, if you're not living in alignment with your body, right? Again, setting your design and your body up for success through living your environment, your determination, then you're going to probably feel drained when you wake up and feel like you worked all night while you're asleep. That's kind of the energy of people who are generators in their sleeping chart. And then projectors in your sleeping chart, you're just really open, right? Similar as reflectors, but slightly different. But it really doesn't matter what type you are in your sleeping chart. You're still meant to sleep alone, especially if you're a generator in your sleeping chart. Like the person that you sleep with could be taking in that sacral energy while you're asleep, which is not probably detrimental for their health, which is probably not good for them and probably detrimental for their health. So that is a brief summary and overview of the sleeping chart, why it's important, what all the different aspects of it mean. And again, if you want to learn more, you can check out my blog post or my class that I have done in my membership site, going into each gate and into each line. And in my trainings to become a reader, I go much more deeply into the expression of each line through the gates themselves, and into all of the different aspects of the sleeping chart more deeply than I do in the membership. So that's something you can find there if you're interested in learning about this even deeper. Those are the places you can from me specifically. I honestly haven't been able to find a lot of information on this stuff on the internet without, like, the only place I can find it is Joving Archives, and it's like way it's just kind of like ridiculous how much they're charging for this information. And I have access to Urahu's dissertations about sleep charts, so that's where my information has come from. So yeah, that's what I have for you all today. Thanks for watching. Let me know about your sleep chart in the comments below if you know what it is. I also do readings through my Stan store, so you can book a reading through there if you want me to do an interpretation for you. And then I do offer one-on-one Zoom sessions where we meet one-on-one, face-to-face, to the people of my email list. So if you are interested in booking one of those types of readings with me, check out my links in the show notes below, or the description box below. I'm talking like I'm on my podcast. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.